What's up, Podgo people? This is Steve Sterlacci back with another video. Today's an interesting and a fun one. This was a lot of fun to put together and fun to try. So what am I talking about here? The Podgo, I'm sure as you have seen or read, has what's called an amp out on the back of it. And that amp out is designed to go to a power amp, which will power a speaker cabinet so that your amp model sound can be amplified on stage, whether it be through like a power stage or something going through a live cabinet, or even maybe like your Power Cab 212 or 112 plus. But what I was hoping for and what I was kind of disappointed in and hope to see in the future update is I tour full time, and a lot of times in smaller venues we get stuck with no monitoring. And if there's limited monitoring, you know, obviously the singers need to get it first, and usually there's a guitar amp that's on stage for us. And this amp out would work really good going into the effects return of one of those amps. But something I was curious and hoping would be the case is that the amp out could also go straight into the front end of a tube amp. And I see this requested all the time on the Facebook groups and stuff. People are always asking if the outputs can go into the front end of an amp. And I think that a cool future request, if anybody from Line 6 is watching, is that there's in your global settings, you can select what your amp out does. You can either select it to be your main out, which will be your full signal chain, or you could set it to be right before the cabinet / IR block, which will send everything prior to that to your amp. What I would like to see in the future, and kind of what I'm doing in this video, is allow that to also have a third option that will send prior to the amp model. So if I'm stuck with, say, a deluxe reverb on stage and that doesn't have an effects loop, I'd rather send the signal before my amp. I don't want to send my amp signal into another amp. You know what I'm saying? So that would be a cool request, although the big downfall to that would be the snapshotting. If you use snapshots and you have different settings in your amp, that idea pretty much becomes shot unless you're using just pedals and EQ blocks for your snapshots. So what I have done today is I pulled up a preset and I'm comparing it to my real 1968 Fender Bassman. I am sending that through my Sir Reactive Load IR, and I've imported the same exact IR, so the identical IR, into my Podgo. It's the Sir Creamback, get the exact name, hold on. It's the Sir PT G12 75H Creamback 212 CS. So that's the Bassman's going into the reactive load IR with that IR, and my signal chain in the Podgo is ending with the same exact IR. I don't have any pedals engaged right now. I'm just doing straight clean sounds of each one. So let's hear what we're going with here. So this is something I would go on stage with theoretically, if it worked the way I wanted it to. So I have a signal that's going to front of house that has the amp modeling and everything nice on it, and then the reactive load side is going to be what I'm hearing on stage, but translated into a YouTube video for you guys to hear at home. So I'm going to throw my trusty cans on. Link for these are in the description below. If you want to see any of my camera gear or guitar gear, check down below. And if you buy anything there, helps the channel, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, let's get to it. Let's first start off with the reactive load. So this is my real Bassman. I have everything in the Podgo turned off besides, yeah, everything is off in the Podgo. So I'm going into the Podgo, amp out, straight to the Bassman, through the reactive load, into my interface. And now I'm going to switch over to the Podgo. So here's the Podgo that I kind of modeled the sound with. Both really usable clean sounds. Let's go back to the real amp just for a comparison. I got it snapshotting. Okay, real amp. So I just wanted to do a couple of comparisons with this. So with the real amp, I'm going to engage the TEMA. So I've just got a TEMA in here that I've got, some regular settings on. Drive is 2.9, bass cuts in the middle, treble cuts at 7.4, center clip. So that's a cool little rhythm sound. Now let's go to the Pod Go sound. Using the same settings on the pedal. This is kind of where they separate. They don't take pedals exactly the same. So once the pedals are engaged, kind of goes totally out the window. But if you have a preset dialed in to go to front of house, that's the important signal that you'll be getting. So maybe on stage it won't be ideal, but when is it ever? I also got the Diana drive, so let's now kick that on too. So we're going through the amp modeling with the Diana drive and the TEMA, more of a lead guitar sound. Now let's have the pedals engage and go to the real amp into the SIR. This is real amp with both of the drive pedals on. Back that neck humbucker. So you could hear that they kind of take a total different turn. I don't know what I'm saying. They sound totally different once the pedals are engaged, but I just wanted to throw this together to show you a comparison where how the Pod Go really stacks up against a real tube amp. So you let me know what you guys think. Shoot a comment down below if you think that that the Pod Go hung with the Bassman, or if it was total crap. I don't know. I think it was a pretty fair comparison using the same IR, but you guys be the judge. This was just comparing the Bassman, real tube 68 vintage Bassman, to the Tweed amp in the Pod Go. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.